Paul George scoring 23 points. Didn't look like his usual self, though, either, shooting 8 for 18 from the floor. Now, remember, the Mavs pushed the Clippers to 6 games last year in the bubble. The Mavs also hung 51 on the Clippers earlier this year. But anyway, the Clippers did some maneuvering late in the season to get this matchup with Dallas and now find themselves down 1-0. And Vince, they are at home. So is it time for panic or patience?
I want to hear this. I want to hear this thing. Panic.
Good for you. You're
it's time to panic.
Oh, there's a panic noise.
Okay. But the reason I think that is because and they were trying to get rid of that bad taste out of their mouth from how they played last year and what was all said, what happened in the summer. Doc Rivers moves on. You get a new coach, and it's kind of the same result. And it's just one game, like you said. But they lost home court.
Yeah.
They lost home court to the team that got with them last time.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, here we go again. So, and you upgraded your team, and you still didn't get the job done. So I think it's time to panic. But, I think we are panicking more than they are.
Right.
I mean, we could talk about all we know. There's panic. In the locker room, they said, we just need to step it up, and you need your stars to be stars now.
I don't think this is a panic or patient situation. I think they're understanding the moment. This is a veteran team, so they know what's going on. But I think more on the flip side, Dallas is very confident against this team. So they're going to have to go out and shut this team's water off. What they did in the bubble, minus Porzingis last year, Luka's out here talking trash to everyone. They're in a good rhythm, in a good mode. They're going to have to, change up their game plan and understand they have to slow Luka down. But like I said, I don't think it's either. I just think they understand what the situation is, and they don't want to have a here we go again type season. So expect a different Clipper team game 2 with a different game plan to slow Luka down, because if not, this is going to get ugly quick.
No, it's about to get ugly, and I think the Clippers should be worried in this time to hit the panic button.
Are you panic or patience, Perk?
It's time to hit the panic button.
There we go.
I'm panicking, Rachel, and here's why, right? When you look at Luka and the way that he performed, right? He performed like, Matt, shout out to you and Stack 5. He want all the smoke. And he did just that. We saw clips of Kawhi dunking on Kleber and all that. But, hey, show them clips of Luka talking noise, telling Pat Bev he's too small. And then on top of that, guess what?
Right.
It looks like to me, and Matt, you brought this up about 2 weeks ago when we were on the jump. You said that Tim Hardaway Jr. has been playing well. He had a phenomenal game. We're looking at a guy like Bronson. He's playing well. And by the way, like you said, Rachel, when you maneuver towards the end of the season to get that matchup, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, it's already a little tension there from last year in the bubble, and then all of a sudden you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're in the locker room, you're like, oh, okay, so y'all want to play us. Y'all think something sweet about us. Y'all think we creamy in the middle. So I'm looking at this Mavs team, man, and seriously, they playing with a certain type of edge. They do not fear them. And so it is time for the Clippers to panic.
Hey, Perk, they also had that guy by the name of Porzingis healthy. So that's another dimension that they did not have last year.
For now, yes.
But I'm saying, as of right now.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying that he won't be through the series. It's just a long series. I do think, look, the Clippers are still a highly talented team. So I can't panic yet. I just can't. It's only one game. But I do think you got to be careful what you wish for, right? You got to be careful what you ask for, because to Brooke's point, they heard you and they know what you're doing. All right, guys, coming up, we're going to.
I mean, it's just a little tip, okay? Just a little tip, my brother.
Police.
That's right, okay?
I'm just saying, Stephen, I got to take baby steps, okay?
I got you.
I threw away the gold chain, all right?
Okay.
I threw away the T-shirts. I'm coming more suit and ties.
No.
I'm going to step it up.
I got you.
I like it.
I promised you I was going to take you out for a few shirts. I got you. Me and you.
Are the youngest team to be in the playoffs since a decade ago. When? Whose team, Perk, made the playoffs in 2011?
Oh, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That is the team. That is your team.
You get older, bro. You got to remember you playing.
You, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden.
I mean, that's been a decade ago. Sometimes, I done forgot that's been hey.
Well, there you go. Let's bring back a segment to discuss all of the Los Angeles basketball teams. Oh, yes, panic or patience has returned to the jump. So the Lakers dropping game 1 on the road in Phoenix, and Anthony Davis has taken a lot of heat, including from himself, by the way, for scoring 13 points on 5 of 16 shooting. And indeed, this was his quote after the game. "This is on me," he said. "I take full responsibility for sure." The defending champs now find themselves down 1-0 against the second seed in the West. So, Perk, is it time for panic or patience for the Lakers after Game 1?
Oh, Rachel, you know you got to be sleeping well that night if you're a Lakers fan, right? Have all the patience in the world. Put the AC on 60 with the fan blowing in your face. For the simple fact of this, right? We saw this same story last year, right? Against the Blazers in the first round, they lost Game 1. They also lost Game 1 against the Houston Rockets. They're going to bounce back. Frank Vogel is a great coach of what? Adjustments. So they're going to throw different looks at Devin Booker. Anthony Davis is not going to perform like he did last night. He's going to be more aggressive. We saw that last year when we called him out when he had bad games. He came back putting up Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain numbers. We know LeBron James is going to be aggressive tomorrow. So if I'm a Lakers fan, you got to have all the patience in the world and don't panic.
For me, I say patience as well. And the reason I say patience, LeBron James wasn't even, yeah, I hear that. LeBron James wasn't that aggressive.
Wait till you hear the panic sound. But keep going. This is the patience sound.
LeBron James wasn't that aggressive. I mean, I think he was just trying to get himself back into it. And just imagine when you have a LeBron James that is in full attack mode, that's going to open the game up for AD to see single coverage. They started throwing double teams at AD on the fly. As soon as he caught the ball, there's somebody there. But I saw a couple of times, guys, you could chime in on this, but sometimes LeBron was at the top of the key, and he threw a bounce pass across the paint to Caruso. I'm like, attack. They need you to score. So
is that he's still got nursing an injury?
That's my point. Yeah,
I think he's just trying to get it all back.
I think LeBron is going to have to play his way back into health and rhythm, so to speak. I mean, it's crazy to call an off night with a triple-double and a game-winning shot an off night, but we know he didn't play very well against the Warriors. This game only takes 13 shots. He gets banged up a little bit, so LeBron is going to play his way back into rhythm and health. But that's why this is going to be a good series, because I don't think he's there yet, and it's going to take AD to carry the load until LeBron is as good as he can be before LeBron's back to normal. But that's the one thing I noticed probably in this last week and a half is LeBron is not healthy yet. I think we can all tell that, but this team is good enough to allow him to kind of play his way back into shape. But you can't play with this Phoenix team. The most dangerous teams are these young teams that don't know better, and especially someone led by CP. I got a chance to talk to CP last night. It was a stinger, so hopefully he'll be back to full health by next game. But these young teams are dangerous because they don't know that they're supposed to worry about the Lakers. They're definitely not afraid. They came out and did what they're supposed to do in Game 1, which was protect home court.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. There's no need to panic. And let's remember, the Lakers are on the road. So, I mean, you're not supposed to, but going down 1-0 on the road is kind of how NBA series work. That being said, to me, the issue wasn't so much what the Lakers weren't doing, but what the Suns did do.
They came out and played.
Devin Booker has been waiting years to get into the playoffs. And sometimes when that happens, we see guys kind of overcome by the moment. This man was not overcome or scared of anything. And when Chris Paul was going in and out of the game, and even once he came back, I was there. Chris Paul did not look like Chris Paul for the rest of that afternoon. Devin Booker stepped up. So I don't think it's time to panic for the Lakers, but I think the Suns definitely showed they are not a paper tiger here, and they're going to be a problem for the rest of the series. All right, I do want to stay in the West, though, and talk Clippers. So get ready to throw it down because, oh, gentlemen, Vince Carter is in the building, and the jump starts now.
Welcome to The Jump, presented by Dell.
Oh, indeed. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by NBA champ and the co-host of All the Smoke, Matt Barnes, down at the end of the table. But in the middle, he's back, 8-time All-Star in the studio, Vince Carter. Welcome to California.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
We love having you here in person. And, we have a hoop in the studio, and Vince Carter still got it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I got to say. This was while we were doing our pre-show. Just a little, dunk.
You guys baited me into that one.
Yeah, we baited you into
basketball on the floor. What are you going to do?
You got a full workout in.
No other human in this building can do that. So, yes, we absolutely did. Kendrick Perkins, by the way, is going to join us later in the show. But first, in theory, all the yelling and screaming we heard in NBA arenas this weekend was over a bumpy orange ball. But of course, it was about a lot more than that. The sounds you heard, that wall of noise in Phoenix? Yeah, that's it. Or the way the building actually seemed to sway at some points in Salt Lake? Those were sounds of hope and progress and the joy of just getting to be normal again, of obsessing over referee whistles instead of ambulance sirens. And nowhere was that more true than in New York City, which for months last year bore COVID's biggest brunt. Just the chance to be at Madison Square Garden again with a building full of fans and Spike on the sideline. It felt like a victory before the ball was ever tipped off. That would have been enough. Fortunately, though, we got more. An absolute old-fashioned playoff dogfight between the Knicks and Hawks, with Trae Young entering the great pantheon of New York sports villains. You know, coming into this series, there was a legit question about who was going to be the best player on the court. And I'm not ready to say we know the final answer after just one game. I certainly think Julius Randle, who has bounced back from a lot worse in his career, can bounce back from a night he looked just unlike himself, going just 6 for 23 from the floor. But boy, did Trae Young stake his claim. Young was unruffled all night as the Garden faithful bombarded him with words I cannot say on national television. And he even kept his cool as he stood at the line with 28 seconds to go, making both of his free throws to give the Hawks a 2-point lead. At that point, the Knicks were running their offense through Derrick Rose, and the former MVP delivered with this runner with just under 10 on the clock. That was when the Garden absolutely erupted. New York felt like New York again until Trae happened again. This was actually supposed to be a play for John Collins, but his sneaker fell off, and so Trae just barreled ahead after a series. I mean, just look, drawing a quartet of defenders. He launched the floater, less than a second on the clock. This was so good. Look at this.
Impressive. Floater.
And then what happened after? Just as spectacular. Trae going full Reggie Miller on the New York crowd, putting his finger to his lips, remarking about how quiet had gotten, again using words I can't put on television. Fortunately, Trae repeated a cleaner version as he walked off the court post-game. Take a listen.
Got real quiet in there. It got real quiet in there. It's still yelling now. I don't care. Next one. Next one.
Oh my, I'm not sure what the next few days are going to be like for Trae around New York or on social media. This is a very different time than when Reggie Miller was making that choke sign to Spike Lee all those years ago. And also remember, at that point, Reggie was more experienced. He was 28 years old. He had already been through playoff wars. Trae is only 22 and has now put even more pressure on himself to deliver again in Game 2. But also, being the object of fan hate, not new for Young, who faced down doubters both in college and when he first got to Atlanta, and who seems to relish all of it. Frankly, I am relishing it too. Not any particular team winning, but just the chance to have a basketball game be the thing we are most emotional about today. To have had a night where more than 15,000 people just got into the same large room and yelled and screamed and hugged and laughed and, yes, obsessed about something as trivial as a bumpy orange ball. Isn't it just fantastic? So, Vince, first of all, give a little shout out to your guy, Trae Young, because you mentored him.
Absolutely.
And what you saw from him last night.
You know, I'm happy for him, and I thought he handled it extremely well. You know, for your first playoff game, you're overly excited, as you know. And I recall my first playoff experience against the Knicks, and we got swept. We had Tracy, who played well, but, you know, in these times, you know, a lot is expected of him, and you don't play well, social media destroys you. He had 32 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds in his first playoff game.
Wow.
Just like in his first experience in the Garden as a rookie, didn't go so well.
Yes.
So for him to come out here and play like this, shout out to him.
Just your face as we were going through those highlights were so good. All right, let's talk about the Knicks side, Matt. Do you expect them to recover from that loss?
Before I talk about the Knicks, I just want to just say how excited I am to have playoff basketball back in New York. Obviously, I wasn't there, but I felt it through the TV, the energy. I get the chills now talking about it. But one thing about this Knicks team, and I'm sure Tibbs is going to, it's just one game. Yeah. You know, obviously it was a tough one. Trae Young did what he wanted to do. I think the one thing I was surprised the most is how easy Trae got to the paint. Knowing that New York is the #1 defensive team in the league, he was able to get to the paint at will, and that's something I'm sure Tibbs will have an adjustment for. But for these guys, I think Julius Randle pressed a little bit, you know, expected. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on him, especially coming off the season and all the accolades they've had. But again, it's just one game, and I think Tibbs will make sure these guys understand that.
I say this, they will bounce back because they're playing at home. They play extremely well at home. And the one thing about it, like you said, Trae got into the lane with ease. And the one thing for Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, if you allow Trae to get into the teeth of your defense. The floater's there, the lob's there, as well as the three-point shot. And the organization, the Hawks organization, has done a great job of putting shooters in front of them in pick and rolls and behind them in pick and rolls. So you have to, what are you willing to give up for the Knicks? And I think that's what the decision and the discussion they will have is, what do we want to give up? I think you will see them hit him early on pick and rolls, Matt, you know what I'm saying? So as the screen comes, they're going to double before the actual screen gets there and make the bigs make decisions now and see what happens then.
Yeah, well, we will find out. All I know is it's going to be electric. And again, 90% of the fans at the Garden last night vaccinated. And that is happening all over the league. Arenas are allowed to open up these vaccinated sections now where fans can sit side to side, be packed in. You can have more of that real playoff environment because you don't have to leave the 6 feet in a bunch of empty seats. It's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on to the Jazz Grizzlies series, because after Donovan Mitchell was a late scratch with that ankle injury, and we'll get to that in a minute, the Grizzlies took advantage, stole game 1 in Utah. Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks put on a show, people, combining for 57 points. Now, after the game, Mitchell tweeted, "Sorry, y'all. I wish I could say more. I will be out there soon." Here's Rudy Gobert on how and when he found out that Mitchell was out for game 1.
I found out when we woke up from the nap, so about 4 p.m. It was a big surprise, but I try to stay out of all this because, it's just going to give me a headache. Hopefully, it's good for next game. That's what I'm worried about. Obviously, when you wake up, you get ready for a game, and you find out that, your star player is not going to play, it throws you off a little bit.
First of all, some life advice there from Rudy Gobert. I'm just going to stay out of it because it's going to give me a big headache. It's not bad. According to our Brian Windhorst and Tick McMahon, Mitchell was, quote, incensed, according to the article, at the late decision to scratch him from game 1. It deepened tensions with the team, they wrote. He was not listed on the Jazz's injury report Saturday or early Sunday. Sources said there is the hope that more rehab and testing can lead to Mitchell being cleared to play in Wednesday's game 2. So, Matt, where do you think Mitchell and the Jazz go from here?
I want to commend the Jazz on erring on the side of caution. I think too often we've seen stars come back like Brandon Roy and Grant Hill. They really want, sometimes we need to be protected from ourselves, and those guys gave it all in the playoffs and ended up, messing up their trajectory of their careers. So as a player, I understand Donovan Mitchell's frustration, but he needs to be healthy and understand he's got a lot. This is obviously the playoffs, but he's got another 10 or 12 years of playoffs ahead of him, and you want to make sure you heal that right, especially with the bad ankle. So again, as a player, understand the frustration, but my hat's off to the Utah Jazz for just erring on the side of caution, because too often guys come back too soon, and that's not good.
Man, you said something there is protecting us from ourselves. And, sometimes I've been in a situation where.
So take us through what this is like, especially once you get to this time of year.
Yeah, I've been in a situation where I came back on the floor too fast. Yeah. And you ended up hurting yourself even more or hurting something else from compensating. And for them, they want to make a deep playoff run. So I understand, like Matt said, I understand his frustration. But they want him from game 2 for the rest of the series. Right. Because think about what Utah has done. They're the number 1 seed in the West. Who saw that coming? Right. I didn't.
Yes.
You knew they would be in contention, but for him, Donovan Mitchell, he wants to prove that, yes, we play well in the regular season, but we can have success in the postseason, and that's important to him. But it's also important to the organization, so they had to make that tough decision. And you like you said, makes it hats off to them.
Okay, but what is it like for you guys? You come in, you think you're going to play, you know that it's, quote, a game time decision. I mean, in this case, it seems like maybe some of the miscommunication was the issue, right, between him and the franchise, maybe more so even than being held out or not, but I don't know since I was not there. He says, I wish I could say more. I will say this, though, I understand the push-pull. So you come in, it is one of those games. You want to be, Donovan Mitchell looks up to Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade played in games hurt. You want to be Dwayne Wade if you're Donovan Mitchell in that situation and gut it out. What is the back and forth with the team, and do you understand when they tell you no? I
don't think you understand as a player. A little bit of you does, but again, the competitor's going to take over, and he knows they need him to win, and obviously last night was proof. These young Memphis Grizzlies aren't scared of anyone. They've come out and played and shocked a lot of people, playing with a lot of confidence. So again, the competitive nature of Donovan Mitchell, we completely understand, but I don't want people to start reading into this. This is a problem with the franchise, or there's going to be some real beef now, because at the end of the day, the franchise wants nothing more than to win. Sure. But they also want to protect their asset and understanding, like I said, he has a long run of playoffs to come ahead of him, but we'd all love to see him get back out there as soon as possible.
It's going to be a little heightened. It doesn't mean when heads cool.
That's what that's what the playoffs brings, excitement. that's when guys. This is big money time when guys get paid.
Yes.
And he wants to go out there and do for his team
and do his thing.
And because of they still remember what happened last year.
I was going to say their season ended on a Mike Conley bounce.
But I'm saying, remember what he individually did in the playoffs last year.
Exactly. So he was back out there
killer.
And get that. Yeah. So I understand.
Absolutely. And again, ridiculous.
What do you think he said?
Blocking that.
Yeah, the photo after was its own.
He probably, snarled under his breath.
Right.
Right?
That's sick. Right?
That's all of them just staring him down. But guess what? Maxey got the last laugh, so there you go. All right, Miss, explanations. Just over a minute left in regulation. Giannis at the line, calm you down, right, at the line if you're not the greatest free throw shooter. And the league has come out and said, yeah, it can't be that long. All right, make assault. Still, I don't know if you'd call it the end of a game. Just saying. Jazz trying to make a late run with Rudy on the bench. Favors getting the and one.
Unbelievable.
What happened? Why? Why are you flopping when you're not even in the game? How is this happening?
Unbelievable. I don't even have words for this.
Right. What do you say to that?
I mean, it just shows like your team's losing. You're not even serious. Like you're laughing, joking, regular season, not preseason maybe, but the fact you're in the playoffs, you already found out your team's losing and you want to do something like this. Not a good look. Next game?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Got to be. They try. Maybe he gets a technical on Kyle Anderson.
All right.
And they shoot. I don't know.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confused.
Yeah. Okay. This is now the 11th time I've seen this video and it still makes no sense. Miss Genuine, yeah, slow-mo with the poke away.
I love this.
And then almost comes to a complete stop before throwing down the thunderous jam.
Slow-mo. Shout out UCLA, man. This guy's made a living at just playing at his pace, and I think no one exudes that better than him. Like, literally, his name is Slow-mo, and that's how he plays.
Mm-hmm. That's how he dunked it.
Quick hands, though. Very smart player. Very effective still.
And this is not slow motion. That is live right now.
No, I mean,
2 points is 2 points.
2 points is 2 points.
You know they say.
To be able to play at your own pace, and we see Nikola Jokic, frankly, plays at his own pace sometimes. Right? Kawhi plays at his own pace, can't be rushed. How hard is that, guys, when the rest of the game is going?
Well, you got to think, especially the pace of the game these days. The games are so up and down, so for him to stay in his comfort zone in his pace, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And his willingness to do it. It's like, hey, I'm going to stick to who I am and play my style, and it's worked. I mean, I could see if he wasn't successful in it, then maybe let's speed up the pace because the game now, they want to play faster each and every time. So shout out to him.
Yep. All right. So, look, the Grizzlies able to steal that game in Salt Lake because, they took down the Warriors in the play-in final. The Warriors obviously bitten by the injury bug this season. They did still fail to make the playoffs in a season where Steph was an MVP finalist, though, which has some of their fans understandably in their feelings. And here's Steve Kerr talking about the Warriors' year.
I think this season was absolutely a success, Anthony. We would have loved to have gotten into the playoffs and tried to make a run. We were really a good team over the last 22 games, I guess. To put together a stretch like that over an entire quarter of a season, that's not a fluke. We were the number one defense in the league during that span.
All right, so this is the definition of hot off the press. I'm reading this off a piece of paper here. Earlier this morning, Bob Myers addressed the media and said this about Klay's return. I don't know that it will be the start of next year. We'll see as camp gets closer. When I say start of the year, I mean game one. I don't know if game one is realistic or not. That will be less than a year, I think, from the date that the season opens up. I think that'll be 11 months from, of course, when Klay injured himself. What we're focused on is what do we expect Klay to be Klay, and I don't know if that will be January, February, March. It's too early to say. So I know Warrior fans have been waiting what will be 2 years for Klay to come back, but that is a warning from Bob Myers. He also discussed the status of Steph's contract, saying, quote, as optimistic as you can be, I don't see there's any reason not to be optimistic about extending Steph Curry. He seems like he's motivated. We're motivated. I would say pretty confident we will get something done. So, Vince, I'll start with you. Look.
Back up the truck, first of all.
Well, yes. I mean, look, Warriors are going to give him their blank checkbook, and it's just a matter of him deciding how long he wants to sign for. Does he want to sign something shorter to kind of keep pressure on the organization? That kind of thing. I don't think anyone expects Steph Curry to go anywhere. But we do know that there are bigger picture needs there, and Steph will probably come in while he's signing that blank check to say, hey, I need you to do X and Y. They didn't have Klay this season. They lost Wiseman during this season. Do you think that Coach Kerr is right? This season was still a success, or do you think that the front office has some more to do this summer, and what should that be?
I understand what he's saying when it's a success, because if you think about what could be and what can be next year with Clay coming back and the roster they have, Wiseman gets healthy, Oubre, all of these young guys that gained experience in valuable minutes this year. And we're talking about at points where the young guys were the go-to guys in making plays, and they were in situational games that matter. Like the play-in tournament, it mattered. They gained experience. It was like a playoff game. It wasn't a play. I mean, you don't technically get the playoff experience,
very high,
but it is high level, and that's something they can carry over to add to the team and the firepower they will have next year.
I completely agree. It was a success. Steph had a great year, and he stayed healthy. So he's coming into next season healthy. Draymond did the same thing. Like Ben said, young guys got valuable moments. I love Poole. I love Juan Toscano. Soft flashes again from Andrew Wiggins, particularly in the playoff game that I really like. Young Oubre, Wiseman, they're trending in the right direction. After coming off a dynasty run, losing KD, losing Clay for 2 years, I think everyone expects so much to happen so fast, and it's going to be a process. I do agree they need to address, probably a few roster issues, but overall, like I said, trending in the right direction. You got out of there with your two best players still healthy. Hopefully Clay comes back and regrooms his form soon. And, I think this Warrior team has one more run. They may still need another piece, but I think they have one more run before Steph and Clay are done.
And I want to add one more thing. I think Wiseman will play an important role. They want to get him healthy, and he was getting that experience early. But I think getting him back and him gaining experience, because I think he would have been an important piece to this play-in run for a playoff push if they had him.
Well, look, Steve's right in that it was a success in that chunk of the season he was talking about, that latter chunk of the season. But prior to that, the Warriors were trying to have it both ways. They were both trying to develop for the future, develop James Wiseman. They were also trying to do right by Steph Curry, who is 33 years old, and that window is not going to be alive forever. Obviously, he'll age pretty well in this league, but it's not interminable. So I think the key for them is understanding that from now on, it is about maximizing Steph Curry. Whatever you have to do in terms of offseason acquisitions, this is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and you just can't be split on your goals anymore.
I think they'll make one more run. I still have.
Phoenix 99-90, a scare with Chris Paul's shoulder, but he did return. He's dealing with soreness, expects to be fine. Game 2. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis had an off night, couldn't get anything going. However, LeBron is confident that when AD takes ownership like this, the next game, expect a turnaround. Here's AD.
There's no way we're winning a game, let alone a series, with me playing the way I play. So, this was on me. I take full responsibility for sure. And we'll be better game 2.
All right, Davis shot 5 of 16, had 13 points in game 1, tied for his fewest in a postseason game. AD's 31% field goal percentage Sunday was his worst in a postseason game in his career. Max.
Yeah.
Was this more about AD or Booker?
Devin Booker. I told everybody going into the game, remember on Friday when I said, that's the dude you have to fear, Devin Booker? Know why? Out of everyone in the NBA, the guy whose offensive game reminds me the most of the Mamba, Kobe Bryant, it's Devin Booker. That's the mini Mamba right there on offense. The footwork, can hit a shot from anywhere, fearless. Let me tell you something. Devin Booker stepped onto the court. First ever playoff game in his career. There's LeBron James. There's Anthony Davis. There's Chris Paul, his teammate. And he was clear. Think about that for a second. LeBron, AD, and Chris Paul all going to the Hall of Fame first ballot. All tons of playoff experience, championships everywhere you look. Devin Booker was easily the best player on the floor for his playoff debut. And you know why this doesn't surprise me? I always wondered about Devin Booker. Is he an empty calorie stats guy? He's putting up big numbers and shooting on a bad team. Then I saw what he did in the bubble. 8 games. He averaged 31, 6, and 5, went 8-0. 31, 6, and 5, went 8-0. He was the best player in the bubble during the regular season. He gave him 34, 8, and 7. He was even better when they needed him most. Chris Paul goes down. He's out for a while. When he comes back, you can see him favoring the shoulder. Don't worry about it. Book got this. I know DeAndre and other guys played well for sure, but who was the best player on the floor? Think about that one. It was Devin Booker. Wow. And by the way, I'm not even surprised.
Well, none of us are surprised. The way we've seen LeBron and Anthony Davis look as of late, it was Devin Booker's first game. We saw his play in the bubble. We've seen him throughout this season. And we saw him in his career before Chris Paul ever arrived. And we know what an offensive juggernaut that he is. So next time you want to tell us the sky is blue, feel free. I'm really, really interested in knowing how innovative that is.
Great.
I would tell you is this. This is what I will tell you. Even though I will concede that Devin Booker definitely was the best player on the court last night, and you want to use that as an argument, that's fine. The story is DeAndre Ayton against Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is one of the top 5 players on the planet when healthy. Anthony Davis had an atrocious performance. An atrocious performance. And Anthony Davis knows it. And I have no doubt that he's going to come back after this because we've seen him respond when he's had questionable performances in the past and make amends immediately. And I fully expect it. Here's what I would say to Anthony Davis. You damn well better have. DeAndre Ayton, let me throw these numbers out for you. 21 points, 16 rebounds. Hit 90% of his shots, 10 of 11 shots. And was a plus 16 when he was on the court. He played 36 plus minutes. Anthony Davis played 38 plus minutes. You were on the court when that brother was
biggest minus in the game.
You were, and the biggest minus in the game. A minus 18. What is it? What is it, Anthony Davis here? Minus 18. Minus 18 with Anthony Davis on the court. Just 5 of 16 shots, 31% shooting from the field. Okay, excuse me. How many rebounds did you have? 7? 7 rebounds? 7 rebounds and shooting 31% from the field. And this young pup, okay, first playoff game, takes it to you like that. Wait a minute. He looked bigger. He looked stronger. He looked like he had more. It's DeAndre Ayton we talking about here. Now, we know he's good. And we know that CP3's been working with him. And we know that CP3 has been in his face and in his ear saying, in order for us to come out of the West, we need you. We know CP3 been preaching that to him all year long. And he's developing and he's got better and he's got better. But to sit up there and to play against Anthony Davis like that, well, to outshine him directly. This is not, oh, Devin Booker, you're an off guard, but Anthony Davis is the big boy and you had better than him. No, this guy plays opposite you. Right. It was mano a mano to some degree. He went up against you. We all knew you needed to play like a man amongst boys in order for y'all to beat this Phoenix Suns team, which is really good. And what happened? This brother looked bigger, stronger, faster, more active, like he wanted it more, scored more points than you, had more rebounds than you, shot better from the field than you, and was a better individual from a plus-minus perspective. That is very, very bad, and Anthony Davis has some making up to do in game 2.
You just said, to me, the key was he looked stronger. Mm-hmm. His physical strength was too much for AD. And the crazy thing about the Suns, as I said, going into this season, he's the biggest question mark. Your number 1 overall draft pick was already pretty good. Your biggest question mark. He plays like that, the Suns are going to be a big problem. Hold on.
I think the Suns going to win.
I'm saying going to be a big problem, period, through the